Hey, welcome to the Greenhorn Country Club. So today we're doing the insulation in the van, so the walls, the ceiling. Gonna have a vapor barrier to the flooring with Callum.
What's up?
So we've got some sound deadening strips first of all, which will go on the surface of the van, which will help soundproof, not soundproof, but you know, when it's raining and stuff, it will help dampen the sound a bit. We've got some recycled bottle wool. So this is going to go in all the nooks and crannies, all the tight spaces. And then for the main insulation, we're using insulation board. 40mm to be precise. And then last of all, we're going to cover everything with a vapor barrier to help keep the moisture away from the nice insulation. And then going to go over all the seals with foil tape. Boom. So as I said, the first step is we've got some of these deadening strips which have their own adhesive on the back, and we're just going to stick them on all of the what do you call it, the big surfaces, and obviously we'll have to snip them for the smaller bits up here, but that's step one. Right, so deadening strips on. So as you can see, we just stuck them to all the big parts of metal. They're really easy to just cut in half as you need. Boom. Next step is plastic wool stuff. So next up we've got some of this recycled plastic bottle wool. It's really soft, really cheap, and we're going to use it in all these little tight spaces. Here, look, we've got Callum putting in all the
just rip stuff.
So it's important. It's important with this stuff that you don't tighten it too much, because the whole reason that it's insulative is because there's traps air in there. So when it's too tight, you don't get any air in there, do you?
Yeah.
And that's science. So I'm using going to use the wool for the top of the bulkhead, just because it's a bit more malleable. Look at this.
The governor.
Got both the lads in here now. Look at that.
So there we go, look.
So now I'm going to start cutting the insulation board.
Yeah, you're ready to done his panels.
So little panel board going in. Wants to go around the edge. Very sweaty in here. So unfortunately we've run out of bottle wool.
There's so much void.
Slightly underestimated it because there is so much void under all here, under here, even under here. All had to pack full. But we've cut insulation board for what we could do. Gonna have to do day 2, aren't we? We are back. I say we, I'm back. I think I can handle it on my own. Made sure I'm wearing the same clothes as well for continuity. I think they do that in Bake Off, don't they? But anyway, yeah, got some more bottle wool. So I'm going to continue with stuffing that into the van and also cutting the insulation board, and hopefully get onto the vapor wrap later today as well. So when I was researching how to do this, obviously there's so many different ways that you can insulate your van, so many different methods that people use. The reason I ended up going with the insulation board in the end is because it's one of the most effective insulators apparently. It's really easy to sort of cut into shape, and also the majority of spaces in the van are square, so it's not too difficult, not too to shape it. And then obviously the bottle wall is really good for all the nooks and crannies, and also you can just cram it into and around the insulation board to cover any gaps. The reason the vapor wrapping part is so important is to keep the moisture away from the insulation. Obviously condensation occurs when the temperature outside the van is different to when it is inside the van, and moisture is created, and then it usually ends up on the side of the van. Like in most places, like houses and stuff, you could opt for like a breathable solution so that lets the moisture escape, but because you're in a van, this is essentially a tin can, so there's nowhere for the moisture to go, so it'll just collect on the side and then create things like rust and mold. So it's important to have the vapor barrier, an airtight vapor barrier on the inside of the van to stop the moisture getting through. I have seen some people online putting the vapor barrier directly up against the side of the van, which just kind of defeats the whole point of having it in the first place. So yeah, science lesson over. So the only wires that I should be having coming through the insulation are from my solar panels. So I just cut a slit across here to fit them through and then jammed it back in. The only downside of working with insulation board is when you start trimming it, it's when it starts getting super messy. I'm trying to keep it on the van at the moment, but you have to get the hoover out. Oi oi, finish the roof. So around the extractor fans, obviously done a bit up to here, bit up to here, then done two smaller bits either side, just held it in place with gaffer tape. Same on the other one. Seen the cables, so yeah, obviously the cables for the extractor fans can just hang down. I just need to put some bits in the edges and then finish the walls. Insulation done. Well, I say insulation, the insulation board all done. Look at those triangles. I happen to have some expanding foam left over from whoever had it last in there, so I just left it. Put some foam around it. So now I need to pull up the floor. So obviously I've just got the timber frame and the insulation board there, and then I'm going to vapor wrap the whole lot, and then fix the floor back down over the top of it. I was initially worried about drilling through the insulation, through the vapor barrier, but apparently the screw itself, when it goes through, will then sort of create a seal. And I'm going to be doing it on the walls anyway when I sort of put the structural beams in place for the cladding, so I'll be drilling through the vapor wrap then anyway as well. So that's next. Right, so I pulled up all the flooring, so now it's time to wrap. So the stuff I've got is a beast. It's 1.5 meters wide, and I want to do as few cuts as possible. So I'm going to do loads of lengthways strips. So based around that 1.5 meter width, I'm going to do the floor last. So I'm going to do, I should be able to do 1.5 meters there, 1.5 meters there. I'm going to do 1.5 meters, which will then cover half the roof, and then I'll have to trim a little bit to cover the rest, this corner, and just obviously bend it around the curve. And then it'll cover the majority of the floor, so 1.5 meters will come up to sort of like here maybe. So hopefully I can use the excess from there to go down this final side, and then I'll do the bulkhead at the end. So yeah, it's relatively thin stuff. It's literally just bubble wrap with silver foil either side. So I'll just be able to cut it with some scissors or a Stanley knife. So cool, let's get going. So on my own, this is a little bit fiddly. I think, so for the windows and stuff, so as you can see, I'm sort of slowly unraveling it and then using just spray adhesive as I go, and then holding it into place. As I get to the window, I think what I'm going to do is I'll only apply adhesive to the bottom where it's going to fit, up against the side of the wall, and then once it's in place, I'll use a Stanley knife to cut around the hole for the window. I think that might be the best way to do it, rather than try and preempt a cut and then fix it into place. Not too bad, I don't think. That was actually relatively okay. Then obviously if I just do a diagonal slash in the corners, it means I can fold the excess inwards a little bit. Then obviously it's probably a good idea to keep the offcuts, because then I can use them for annoying areas like the side of the door. Not too bad. Obviously I'm going to go across all the edges with the aluminium foil tape to make it all look a bit neater, and seal anything off. Right, so next I'm going to do the same thing on the other wall. So there we go, the other wall done. I snipped it off here, so I'll do the side door after. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the ceiling next, then the floor, mainly so I can screw the floor back down, because it's really annoying having to walk on these slats, and then do all the little places, I reckon. Yeah. Must have had the garage door open, must have been working. Look at this absolute gigantor. Beast. Oh, that was an absolute ordeal on my own. So you see, it sort of bends, goes up to about here. So I'm gonna have to cut a strip just for that corner. Yeah, that was an absolute nightmare. Now we just need to try and I was thinking that I should quite easily be able to feel where the vents were and just, you know, cut a square, but they're actually a lot more obscure than I thought, so oops. So I've still got to do, you know, a few small bits up there. But it started to get a bit dark, so I want to prioritise getting the floor back on. So I'm just going around all the edges with this aluminium foil tape. So just around the edge, do that bottom bit in a minute, down here. This stuff's actually super annoying to work with though, because it's really brittle, like it rips super easily. And it's got a paper back on the end as well, which I struggle to get off because I've got no nails. But yeah, we prevail. Right, floor's back down. Literally just screwed it back into place. Fitted in quite nicely. So last job is just to go over all the seams, all the edges with my foil tape, which I've decided I hate. It's just so brittle. But there you go. We've only finished it. It's got a little bit dark, so hopefully you can see, but sealed up everything, side doors, zoom out, all the seals, these back doors, also sealed around the edges of the vents. Obviously I've got a sort of frame to go in there as well. Sealed down the side, sealed all these, the windows, and then have a look at the mess from all the tape that I've used. So yeah, pretty happy with how that went, really. It's looks all right. Hopefully it works, insulation works. But next I'm going to start sort of planning where everything's going to go, like the kitchen unit, the bed, stuff like that, and start working out what I need in terms of electrics. Start mapping out my electrical system, so that'll probably be next. Yeah, cheers, see you later.